Jeffrey Epstein, a name synonymous with luxury, intrigue, and whispers of something far darker. He wasn't just a financier, rubbing shoulders with the elite. Behind the opulent mansions and private jets lay a web of shadows. Today, the silence shatters.
Jeffrey Epstein was a billionaire New York businessman, was with young women and girls.
We hear from those who saw the truth firsthand, the ones who dared to peek behind the curtain of privilege and witness the unthinkable.
The abuse did not stop because we're in the air. Jeffrey couldn't take a 2-hour flight without having to ejaculate.
So brace yourself for the truth. A truth that will shatter the carefully constructed image and expose the dark secrets that thrived within Jeffrey Epstein's empire. The revelations of Juan Alessi. Juan Alessi, a man who once cleaned and maintained Jeffrey Epstein's houses for over a decade, shared his experiences working with the wealthy financier and his girlfriend Ghislaine Maxwell, who was his alleged accomplice in trafficking young women. Alessi began working for Epstein in 1991, responsible for keeping things tidy and functioning at the house. He handled everything from cleaning and repairs to managing gardeners and pool staff, and even did errands and shopping. Early on, he met Maxwell, who quickly became his main point of contact. He understood her to be the person in charge, the lady of the house, as he put it. Maxwell introduced herself as Epstein's girlfriend and made it clear she would oversee the household. Alessi's work for Epstein offered him a first-hand view into a world later marred by shocking accusations and legal battles. Juan Alessi described a stressful routine whenever Epstein was about to arrive. He explained that Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's girlfriend, would notify the staff anywhere between a day and just a few hours in advance. This would trigger a whirlwind of activity that Alessi called extensive preparation. The house would be meticulously cleaned, sheets would be changed in all the bedrooms, including Epstein's, groceries would be stocked, and most importantly, Epstein's cars parked on the property would be stashed, specifically with $100 bills. He observed that Maxwell and Epstein ran the place like a luxury hotel, with everything always ready and prepared for their last-minute visits. Behind closed doors. As time went on, Juan Alessi noticed a significant shift in his relationship with his employer, Epstein. While things started off on a friendly and cordial note, Alessi described how their interactions gradually became more distant and strictly professional. In the beginning, Alessi and Epstein would engage in casual conversations. However, as the years went by, these personal exchanges became increasingly rare. Alessi recalled how in-person communication dwindled, and he found himself having fewer and fewer direct conversations with Epstein. Alessi further recounted a striking change in Epstein's behavior towards him. He shared that Maxwell instructed him to only speak when Epstein addressed him directly with a question. Even then, Alessi was told to avoid making eye contact with Epstein during these limited interactions. This shift in communication extended beyond face-to-face interactions. Alessi described a peculiar messaging system that Epstein implemented to convey requests to his staff. Instead of speaking to Alessi directly within the house, Epstein would route written messages through his office in New York. During the initial phase of Juan Alessi's employment at Epstein's residence, Epstein received 1 massage per day. However, as Alessi's tenure progressed, he observed an increase in the frequency to 3 massages daily. Alessi explained that appointments for these massages were arranged by Maxwell himself, assistant Sarah Kellen, or other staff members. The scheduling involved mornings, afternoons, and even extending to late evenings, around 10 or 11 p.m. Alessi detailed the process of organizing these massages, which included reaching out to potential therapists from a Rolodex of contacts. He would inquire about their availability at a specific time, and then instruct them to come, from underage girls to strict rules. Alessi also spoke about seeing 2 young girls at Epstein's Palm Beach home who he believed to be underage. One of them was called Jane, whom he described as a striking, beautiful girl with long brunette hair and captivating eyes. The other was Virginia Roberts. Alessi estimated that they were both around 14 or 15 years old when he first met them. Alessi said that he welcomed Jane and Virginia to the house on several occasions, and would bring them to Ghislaine Maxwell's desk on the ground floor when they arrived. He also recalled that Jane's name was listed in the Rolodex of massage therapists that he used to schedule appointments. In a particularly noteworthy detail, Alessi testified that he had driven both Jane and Virginia to the airport with Epstein and Maxwell on separate occasions. He said that he even followed them onto the tarmac and watched them board Epstein's private plane with Maxwell and Epstein. Alessi also stated that Donald Trump occasionally visited and had meals there. However, Alessi clarified that Trump always ate in the kitchen, separate from the dining table where other guests might be. Additionally, Alessi emphasized that Trump never received massages or stayed overnight at the property. In addition to all these, Alessi painted a vivid picture of his time working with Epstein. His words shed light on the strict and demanding environment that staff navigated daily. Alessi described a life governed by many rules. Every aspect of the household, from setting the dining table to addressing Epstein and Maxwell, had specific protocols. He recalled receiving a 58-page manual from Maxwell, outlining every detail with meticulous precision. This rulebook, he admitted, felt degrading and instilled a sense of constant vigilance. One of the most striking directives in the manual was the mantra, "See nothing, hear nothing, say nothing except to answer a question directed at you." Alessi felt the pressure to be blind, deaf, and dumb, existing solely to serve the needs of Epstein and Maxwell without raising questions or acknowledging anything beyond his immediate tasks. This culture of secrecy and silence took its toll on Alessi. He eventually left in 2000, citing both health concerns and sheer exhaustion from the demanding job. He confessed to feeling very tired and unable to sustain the mental and emotional strain of constantly adhering to the restrictive environment. In a moment of vulnerability, Alessi admitted to stealing $6,300 from Epstein after leaving. He called this act the greatest mistake of his life. Maria Farmer's encounter with Epstein. Another Jeffrey Epstein employee who opens up about everything is Maria Farmer. Maria is an artist and was a former employee of Jeffrey Epstein in the 1990s. Her story reveals a disturbing pattern of alleged manipulation and influence within the art world. In the mid-1990s, while pursuing her graduate studies, Maria experienced a seemingly lucky break. She managed to sell a piece of her artwork for $20,000 directly from her studio, a significant achievement for a young artist. However, fate took an unexpected turn during her graduate exhibition in 1995. Maria found herself face-to-face with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. The introduction, facilitated by the school's dean, Eileen Guggenheim, seemed promising at first. Epstein, known as a major art collector, expressed interest in purchasing one of Maria's paintings. However, the details of his offer raised eyebrows. The painting in question had already been sold to a German buyer for $12,000, a respectable sum for an emerging artist. Yet, Epstein reportedly wanted it for half the price, a significant discount. Guggenheim, however, urged Maria to accept Epstein's offer. This pressure, coming from both a potential patron and a school official, put Maria in a difficult position. Even before the encounter, Maria was aware of Epstein's presence in the art world. He was a regular attendee of academy events and often observed students working in their studios. He and Maxwell were known as generous art patrons, making their interest in Maria's work seem potentially beneficial. In the summer of '95, 4 aspiring artists, including Maria, received an enticing offer, a chance to escape their studios and explore the artistic haven of Santa Fe, New Mexico. The trip, lavishly sponsored by Epstein and his partner Maxwell, seemed like a dream come true. But beneath the surface of artistic inspiration and cultural immersion lurked something far more unsettling. As Maria and her fellow artists soon discovered, the Santa Fe trip wasn't just a vacation. It was a carefully orchestrated test orchestrated by Epstein and Maxwell, one that would push the boundaries of comfort and probe the depths of artistic ambition. The turning point came during a dinner party hosted by Epstein, Maxwell, and the new school's dean, Eileen Guggenheim. Epstein laid out an unusual proposition. A prestigious commission for a major artwork to adorn his New Mexico property would be awarded to one of the artists. The promised commission, the supposed reward for navigating this bizarre test, however, never materialized. Instead, the Santa Fe trip left the artists feeling bewildered and shaken. The experience cast a dark shadow over their artistic aspirations and raised serious questions about the motivations of Epstein, Maxwell, and even Guggenheim's role in facilitating such a troubling evening. After returning to New York, she initially served as Epstein's art advisor. During this period, she oversaw the acquisition of artworks by Chuck Bautis and Damian Loeb for Epstein's collection. This involvement in Epstein's financial dealings suggests a level of trust and proximity to his inner circle. However, Maria's role soon transitioned to working at the front desk of Epstein's New York mansion. This position placed her in the center of the comings and goings of the house, where she observed a significant number of young girls visiting Epstein. Maria also stated that Maxwell would frequently leave on missions to recruit girls for Epstein. This detail highlights Maxwell's alleged role in facilitating Epstein's abusive activities. Betrayed trust. Maria's testimony took a particularly disturbing turn when she revealed the existence of a hidden media room within the mansion. This room, accessed through a hidden door, housed individuals allegedly monitoring pinhole cameras strategically placed throughout the house. Maria specifically mentioned that these cameras focused on the beds and toilets, indicating a blatant invasion of privacy and potential recording of private moments. Maria also reported seeing lawyer Alan Dershowitz visiting Epstein's New York home regularly. While the nature and purpose of these visits remain unclear, they add another layer to the complex web of individuals connected to Epstein and potentially aware of his activities. In the summer of 1996, Maria's artistic career seemed to take a promising turn. Commissioned to create 2 artworks for the film set of As Good as It Gets, she faced the challenge of finding adequate space in her small New York apartment. Epstein proposed a seemingly attractive solution: an artist-in-residence opportunity at a sprawling guest house on Les Wexner's estate in Ohio. The 10,600 square feet property promised an ideal environment for artistic creation, but upon arrival, Maria's initial excitement turned to disquiet. She discovered the residence was guarded by Wexner's armed security personnel, and she was forbidden from leaving without obtaining permission from Abigail Wexner, Les Wexner's wife. This restriction felt unsettling, bordering on controlling. However, the most distressing incident occurred when Epstein and Maxwell visited the Ohio property. Maria alleges that both individuals sexually assaulted her. Facing this trauma, she managed to escape to another part of the house and barricade herself inside, using furniture to block the door. In a state of fear and desperation, she reached out to her family, her mentor artist Eric Fischel, and even attempted to contact authorities. Instead of receiving immediate assistance, Maria faced another hurdle. The security guards informed her she couldn't leave, and they held her against her will for 12 agonizing hours. Her only hope arrived in the form of her father, who upon hearing the distressing news drove from Kentucky to Ohio to pick her up and take her away from the property. The Farmer sisters' battle against Epstein. Later that summer, Maria found out that her younger sister, Annie, had also experienced assault at the hands of Epstein. This unsettling incident occurred during Annie's visit to Epstein's Zorro Ranch in New Mexico in April 1996. In a legal action taken against Epstein's estate in 2019, Maria detailed the distressing encounter. According to her account, Epstein subjected her to groping and harassment, and even crawled into bed with her during the New Mexico visit. Additionally, Annie Farmer asserted that Ghislaine Maxwell had engaged in inappropriate conduct by providing her with a topless massage during the same incident. In 2002, journalist Vicky Ward at Vanity Fair was tasked with writing a profile about Epstein. During her research, she met with sisters Maria and Annie, along with their mother, Janice. The Farmers bravely shared disturbing stories about their experiences with Epstein, alleging inappropriate behavior and potential abuse. They hoped their voices would be heard and expose any potential wrongdoings. However, to their shock and dismay, when the Vanity Fair article finally came out, their accounts were missing. Editor Graydon Carter, responsible for final decisions, had excluded any mention of the Farmer family. Later, Carter claimed he faced pressure from Epstein during the publication process. He described receiving unsettling signals, like a bullet delivered to his home and a cat's head left outside the Vanity Fair office. Around the same time, they were considering expanding their investigation into Epstein. These events fueled speculation that Epstein used intimidation tactics to silence the farmer's accusations. The omission of the farmer's story had a chilling effect. It not only left them feeling unheard and potentially re-traumatized, but it also delayed public awareness of Epstein's predatory behavior for years. The chilling shadows of Maria's experience with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell extended far beyond the initial encounter. Art collector Stuart Pivar, a confidant of Maria's, confirmed shortly after the incident that she had shared the disturbing details with him. Renowned artist Eric Fischel also verified her account, recalling conversations where she confided in him. In the aftermath, Maxwell's threats became a recurring nightmare for Maria. These threats aimed to silence her permanently, targeting not only her but also her professional world. Phone calls and visits to her clients and contacts in the art world were used to cast doubt on her credibility and paint her as unreliable. The pressure became suffocating. To escape the ever-present fear and rebuild her life, Maria made a drastic decision. She left the New York art scene behind and relocated to the American Southeast. For 24 years, she chose a quieter existence, selling antiques and restoring houses, all while keeping a low profile. Maria's battle for truth and justice. During these years of silence, Maria carried the weight of her experience alone. She watched Epstein build his reputation and power, while her voice remained unheard. But the embers of her story never truly faded, waiting for the right moment to ignite and expose the truth. In 2006, a glimmer of hope flickered for Maria. Just before Epstein's first arrest on sex trafficking charges, the FBI reappeared at her doorstep, wanting to hear her story. However, despite her cooperation, the matter seemed to fade again without significant progress. A decade later, in 2016, another flicker emerged. Lawyers for Louise Jeffrey, another alleged victim of Epstein, contacted Farmer. Still living under the shadow of fear, she bravely recounted her experiences with Epstein and Maxwell to investigators Stanley Pottinger and Bradley Edwards. Her hope was to share her knowledge and help build a comprehensive picture of the defendants' predatory behavior over time. But it wasn't until early 2019 that a turning point truly arrived. A brain tumor diagnosis served as a wake-up call for Farmer. She faced her reality head-on, realizing the profound impact both the abuse and years of hiding had taken on her and her family. This powerful realization ignited a fiery determination within her to break the silence. She felt it was time to reclaim her voice, to speak her truth, and to ensure such horrific acts wouldn't remain shrouded in darkness. Her courage to break free from the shadows and publicly confront her past would ultimately empower a multitude of other voices to come forward and seek justice. Now, it's time for today's subscriber pick. For years, Jeffrey Epstein lived a life shrouded in luxury and secrecy. He hobnobbed with celebrities and politicians, jetted between his lavish mansions, and seemed untouchable. His reign of terror finally came to an end in July 2019, not with a dramatic raid or public revelation, but with a quiet arrest on charges of sex trafficking and conspiracy. This pivotal moment wasn't solely the result of tireless investigators or dogged journalists. It was, in part, thanks to the bravery of one of Jeffrey Epstein's employees who opens up about everything. This individual was one of many who stepped out of the shadows, choosing to speak up about the horrors they witnessed firsthand. However, Epstein never faced his victims in court. In August 2019, while awaiting trial, he was found dead in his jail cell, an apparent suicide that left many with a bitter taste of injustice. Yet, the fight for accountability continued. In July 2020, his longtime associate and alleged co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, was arrested. Her trial laid bare the extent of Epstein's web of abuse, showcasing how she facilitated his crimes and groomed victims. Even with Maxwell's sentencing, a chilling thought lingers. Epstein was far from the only predator operating in the shadows of power and privilege. His case shines a harsh light on a disturbing reality. There are others, individuals with influence and wealth who continue to exploit the vulnerable with impunity. So, we are left with questions. How many more Epsteins lurk out there, hidden behind a veil of affluence and influence? What can we do, as individuals and as a society, to ensure that no one, regardless of their background or connections, is above the law when it comes to such heinous crimes? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Virginia Louise Jeffrey, harrowing testimony. In the early 2000s, Virginia Louise Jeffrey's life took a significant turn when she crossed paths with Ghislaine Maxwell at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago club. At the time, Virginia was working there as a spa attendant. Virginia, who had been engrossed in a book on massage therapy, caught Maxwell's attention. Seizing the opportunity, Maxwell initiated a conversation and asked about Virginia's interest in massage. She then used the opportunity to entice her with a potential job as a traveling masseuse for Jeffrey Epstein. Notably, Maxwell assured Virginia that no prior experience was necessary. Upon arriving at Epstein's residence in Palm Beach, Virginia, met a disconcerting sight. Epstein was lying naked. Maxwell, acting as a guide, directed Virginia on how to massage Epstein. Trusting them based on an initial impression of kindness, Virginia shared her tumultuous life experiences, revealing her vulnerability as a runaway who had endured both sexual and physical abuse. Regrettably, this disclosure became a pivotal moment, as Virginia believes it made her susceptible to exploitation. According to Virginia, Maxwell and Epstein swiftly transitioned from acquaintances to groomers, manipulating her under the guise of professional massage therapist training. Jeffrey revealed that she was coerced into providing sexual services, all while being deceived into believing she was on a path to becoming a legitimate massage therapist. Prince Andrew's disputed encounter with Virginia. Between 2000 and 2002, Virginia spent a lot of time with Jeffrey and Maxwell. She wasn't just hanging out at their homes. She traveled to several luxurious places with them. Their main residences were in Palm Beach and Manhattan, where they lived in big houses. They also frequently flew to Epstein's private island, Little St. James, which was like a tropical getaway, and sometimes visited his ranch in New Mexico. During those 2.5 years, Virginia said she had some disturbing experiences. According to her, Epstein would often ask her to give him massages, and then expect her to do more for him and his friends. She felt like she wasn't really a person to them, but more like something they could use and discard whenever they wanted. In an interview, she described being treated like a platter of fruit that was passed around to powerful people Epstein knew. This meant she was forced to travel on their private jets to different places and do whatever they demanded. It was a horrible and degrading experience for her. In March 2001, Virginia, still a teenager, found herself in what she described as a dark and terrifying situation. She was allegedly taken to meet Prince Andrew, a member of the British royal family, during a time when she felt vulnerable and trapped within Epstein and Maxwell's web. A photograph allegedly taken that night has become widely known, capturing the scene with Prince Andrew's arm around Virginia's waist as Maxwell smiles in the background. According to Virginia's account, after a night out at a club, Maxwell made a chilling statement. "You have to do for Andrew what you do for Jeffrey." This placed Virginia in a vulnerable and uncomfortable position. Virginia's subsequent legal claim against Prince Andrew alleged that he sexually abused her on 3 occasions, once at Maxwell's London home that night, and later at 2 of Epstein's properties, his Manhattan mansion and his private island, Little St. James, in the Virgin Islands. Virginia recalled the incident in an interview, stating that she couldn't understand how powerful figures in high positions could not only tolerate such acts, but actively participate in them. However, Prince Andrew strongly denied these allegations. In a 2019 interview with BBC Newsnight, he claimed he had no memory of ever meeting Virginia. Moreover, when pressed about the alleged sexual encounters in the United States and United Kingdom, he simply stated, "It didn't happen." Adding weight to Virginia's claims are court documents revealed in 2019. These documents, part of a civil lawsuit, state that Virginia was allegedly instructed by Epstein and Maxwell to have sex with several other high-profile individuals. The list includes prominent figures like hedge fund manager Glenn Dubin, attorney Alan Dershowitz, politician Bill Richardson, and others. Virginia's claims against Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell extended beyond Prince Andrew. She also alleged seeing former President Bill Clinton on Epstein's private island, Little St. James, accompanied by 2 young women. However, it's important to note that in 2019, when court records were unsealed, Virginia retracted this specific allegation. Many of the men Virginia accused, including President Clinton, have denied her claims. Virginia's escape to Thailand and a new beginning. As time passed, Virginia's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein took a strange turn. By 2003, when she was just 19 years old, she noticed a shift in his demeanor. According to Virginia, Epstein seemed to lose interest in her, potentially because she was no longer considered young enough for his exploitative purposes. This shift marked a new chapter in Virginia's life. In September 2002, with the help of Ghislaine Maxwell, she embarked on a journey to Thailand. Maxwell procured travel tickets, sending Virginia to the International Training Massage School in Chiang Mai. However, this wasn't a typical educational pursuit. Virginia was instructed by Maxwell to identify and bring back a specific Thai girl for Epstein upon her return to the United States. This request hinted at the continuation of the manipulative and harmful network Virginia was trapped in, even as Epstein's focus seemed to change. While attending the massage school, a ray of hope appeared for Virginia. There, she met Robert Jeffrey, an Australian martial arts trainer who offered an escape from the suffocating world of Epstein and Maxwell. Their connection was swift and deep, and they married soon after. This marked a turning point for Virginia. She made a resolute decision. She contacted Epstein, declaring her intention to break free and not return as expected. With Robert by her side, Virginia began building a new life in Australia. They started a family, welcoming young children into their home. For 5 years, they nurtured their little world. It was a stark contrast to the darkness she had left behind. This quiet period in Australia marked a turning point, a chance to heal and rebuild in the comfort of family and normalcy. The investigation that shattered Epstein's facade. In March 2005, as Virginia was building a new life in Australia with her young family, a storm began to gather in Florida. The Palm Beach Police Department launched an investigation into Jeffrey Epstein after a disturbing revelation. A 14-year-old girl and her parents had come forward accusing Epstein of sexual abuse. They recounted how the girl, lured by a classmate, ended up at Epstein's opulent mansion, ostensibly for a massage in exchange for money. However, the encounter took a horrifying turn as Epstein allegedly molested the young girl. This initial accusation sparked a chain reaction. By October 2005, more girls emerged with similar stories of abuse at Epstein's hands. Adding weight to these claims were statements from Epstein's own butlers, who reportedly corroborated the girls' stories. The police, armed with mounting evidence, secured a search warrant for Epstein's Palm Beach property, marking a turning point in the case. The police investigation into Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes involved several key pieces of evidence that painted a concerning picture. Multiple young women who came forward with accusations described a disturbingly similar pattern. They recounted how Epstein would approach them, often through intermediaries, and offer them opportunities like massages or modeling work. During these encounters, Epstein allegedly would request or initiate a massage, which often escalated to sexual assault. This pattern wasn't just based on the accuser's testimonies. When police combed through Epstein's discarded trash, they found incriminating notes. These notes contained the telephone numbers of several of the young women who had made accusations. In a particularly unsettling development, one of the accusers reported receiving a call from Epstein's assistant while she was being questioned by the police. This seemingly deliberate attempt at contact raised further concerns about potential intimidation and attempts to silence the accusers. Virginia herself recounted a sequence of events that unfolded over 3 days in 2007. She found herself at the center of a whirlwind of phone calls and official inquiries. The first came from Ghislaine Maxwell, followed by Epstein himself a day later. Both inquired whether Virginia had spoken to anyone about their activities. The third call, however, came from a different source, the FBI. The agent informed Virginia that she had been identified as a potential victim during the investigation into Epstein's first criminal case in Florida. Despite this official contact, Virginia remained hesitant to fully engage with the investigation. It wasn't until 6 months later, when she was approached in person by the Australian Federal Police, that she decided to come forward and share her story. Her testimony, along with that of other brave survivors, helped shed light on a complex and disturbing pattern of abuse, paving the way for a reckoning that continues to this day. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.